Welcome back. Happy Labor Day, everybody. Weird. I've been seeing Labor Day commercials over the last week, and I'm like, we have Labor Day commercials? Anyway, so Don Waddell spoke after acquiring Jesperi Kotkaniemi and has said that revenge wasn't the primary motivator behind the offer sheet. Now, I will agree with two things here. One, the offer sheet, the way it was structured, was amusing, but it was also petty. There absolutely, in the way that that was put together, is a message of, you want to call it revenge? Fine. Tongue in cheek? Okay. But I also will say this: you don't make an offer sheet like that if you don't want the player. I think people are getting hung up on the 6.1 million. When Carolina wanted to get the player, they signed him to a contract Montreal would not match. That's the idea of the offer sheet, and it's the first successful offer sheet since Dustin Penner in 2007 by the Edmonton Oilers. So it is interesting in that people are still focusing on that 6.1 million, which Carolina can afford for this year, and then we'll see what they do after this year. He is a player who was a highly thought of prospect as recently as a month ago. Like it's weird because you could see the progression. You could see him getting frustrated too at certain points in time. The other thing too is Don Waddell saying he's going to put him on the wing, so he'll start out on the left side, which I think makes a lot of sense. There are players who come up, especially when they're younger, and it's probably better to play them on the wing than to play them down the middle. It depends on the player, but you take that pressure off of them. They're not running the line. They're on the wing. They have a lot less responsibility. And so with Kotkaniemi, this is the plan, is to play him on the left side and go from there. So it will be interesting to see what they do. I think Waddell's kind of downplaying the obvious revenge scenario that this offer really was, because now they've got the player. And Jesperi Kotkaniemi, for his part in this too, he didn't have anything bad to say about Montreal after. Like, it's not like he was throwing a bunch of insults towards Montreal or saying horrible things. So he's just, he's saying all the right things about joining Carolina and the right things as well about his former employers in Montreal. So I think Carolina's trying to, turn down the temperature a little bit. It will be interesting to see that first game between Montreal and Carolina this year, how that game goes. And whether or not any of the Montreal Canadiens players will say anything to Kotkaniemi, maybe they don't, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes down. Some players signing in Europe today. Dennis Malgin has signed in the Swiss League with ZSC. He was loaned to the Swiss League last year, anyways, so this is just completing that. Dominic Kahun, remember when he looked like he was going to be a really smart signing by Edmonton? It didn't work out. And clearly, as a UFA this summer, the interest has not been there. And he has signed a 3-year deal with SC Bern of the Swiss League. So, a 3-year deal tells you that Dominic Kahun's NHL career might be done. And it's bizarre because it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about Kahun like, well, he could be a 20-goal scorer. This could happen. You put him on a wing with McDavid or with Draisaitl, that could be really good, and it just didn't work. So he's going over to the Swiss League, where he'll be treated well. The Swiss League's pretty good to players. Marco Dano, who was not given a qualifying offer by the Winnipeg Jets, he is signed in the Czech Extraliga. So again, another player headed over to Europe to play, and with the European League starting up before the NHL. Pretty sure they start late September, right? I know they start earlier than the NHL. The NHL starting, of course, in the middle of October, 36 days from now. And so if players are going to sign in Europe, well, they're going to get it done now, right? One interesting thing with all the signings and everything else that's going on, I understand that there's players who are going to go on LTIR, but since there's been all this discussion about teams being over the cap from the last year's playoffs, there are 11 teams, according to Cap Friendly, that are currently over the cap. So that's 11 teams that are going to be using LTIR or other means to try to get under the cap before opening night. And it really shows how the flat cap has dramatically affected teams in the National Hockey League. The flat cap has... The interesting part of it, too, is that we've got 11 teams over the cap, and yet we're still seeing GMs spend. Clearly with the idea that, well, the cap's going to start going up again, where, everything's going to be fine, and we're going to, have our financials are going to be great, and yet there's still the flat cap, and there's still a lot of restricted free agents left to be signed. We could have more than 11 teams over the cap looking at Vancouver. So, because with Pettersson and Hughes, and according to Cap Friendly, they have a little bit less than 11 million, you could easily push that 11 million off the board with Pettersson and Hughes being signed. But of course, that hasn't happened yet. And the other interesting thing is going to be we're only a couple of weeks away from training camps. So when those training camps roll around, the restricted free agents, do they just not come in? Are we going to see a situation where some high profile players are sitting out to start the season? Are we going to see that, or are we going to see it all get straightened out? Let me know what you think is going to happen in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And yeah, it's going to be a relatively quiet day today, I would think, being Labor Day and being 36 days out from opening night. It is 5 weeks from tomorrow that the season gets started, and yeah, that's going to be a fun night. Between now and then, though, there's going to be preseason games. And of course, I'm going to be previewing and reviewing the preseason stuff too. So looking forward to that. Hope you'll stick around for that as well. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I did do a 4-hour live stream last night on the Entertainment Guy channel during AEW's All Out. And that was an absolutely fantastic event. So I enjoyed doing that. And yeah, it was long, but at the end, the way that finished out, it was perfect. So yeah, no complaints there, and there you go. So if you're wondering, why did Shannon not make, I usually post at least a 4th video, because it was over there. All right, thanks again for all your support. I'll talk to you guys again soon.